What's good, everybody? How y'all doing, man? Welcome back, man. Episode of A1 Forever Sports, and I got a couple friends with me, man. We're gonna talk about Matthew Judon and the fact that he had some comments. Also, saying the Hawks they're being linked to Giannis Antetokounmpo. Things are just going crazy out here. It's just Atlanta sports news, and I got my boy Bryce with me, got my man T Will with me, and we finna get into it, man. Fellas, how y'all feeling?
Feeling good, man. Feeling good.
Doing well, man.
Hey man, that's what's up. That's what I'm talking about. All right, let's get into this, man. All right, so the thing about it is, earlier today, an article was brought to my attention. I'm not sure if you guys have seen it, but we're going to talk about it. And it was an article wrote by our guy Daniel Flick, and saying he's well known in the Falcon community. So shout out to Daniel. And wrote an article today, basically talking about Matthew Judon and his comments. So they were asking Matthew Judon last year if it was bad luck, like what was it going on, what happened? And Matthew Judon said, and I quote, hell no, it wasn't bad luck. If you go look at the film, I dropped back into coverage over 60% of plays. It's hard to get a pick and a sack on the same play. That's rough because I know Matthew Judon did play 655 snaps, and 328 of those snaps he was a pass rusher. The rest he was dropping back in coverage. He played 240 snaps in the run defense. It just wasn't a whole lot of going to get the quarterback, which was something we brought Matthew Judon in for. Mm-hmm. He also said that I think he said, I think we got to play the game plan. We just got to play the play that's called. Also, he also said, and as a result of us, the way the draft that we had, it's probably doubtful that he'll return back to Atlanta. And he was asked, what do you think about the draft? And what do you think about your return to Atlanta? Matthew Judon would go on to say, probably with the way that they drafted, it's unlikely. And then he also mentioned that, and they had another kid, Braylon Trice, who tore his ACL. They'll want to get him out there and see what he can do. So, hopefully it'll be some great edges in the league. So, guys, he said he's open to whatever, but of course it got to make sense where he's going to play, et cetera, et cetera. I want to know, okay, after these comments that you guys heard, does Matthew Judon have a point? Did it fail in Atlanta because of coaching? Do you think maybe he's exaggerating a little bit? He did lose a step. He couldn't, execute because, he just wasn't physically able to do it. He was out of shape. What do you guys think, man? Let's start. I'm going to start with Bryce.
I think it's a tell of both sides. I think if you watch Judon, there was definitely a lack of effort on a lot of plays. I think that's one thing a lot of people pointed out was effort. Just not, playing with the way people would like to see a person play hard. But at the same time, I've also said I think Jimmy Lake was way over his head, and I said the fact that the entire defense regressed, that is a indication of coaching. So I think it's a combination of the two. I think obviously, it's possible for Judon to not like the way he's being used and then sit there and say this is why maybe his effort did wane on certain possessions and things of that nature. But like I said, I think both sides have a play. Jimmy Lake was terrible. I think we all can agree he was god awful.
Yeah.
But I think we also can agree, Judon could have gave more effort, could have did a little bit more than he did. So I just think it's just like I said, it's kind of both sides are kind of both are. He's basically right. Now, obviously, we are like, all right, we're not just gonna shift all the blame,
right?
But like I said, could be better from Judon. Definitely could have been better from Lake. And I'll leave it at that.
T. Will, what you got?
I agree with a lot of what Bryce said. Now, here's the thing. I'm not gonna say he was in coverage 60% of the time. Like I was with them right
until then, right?
You know what I mean? I was it. No, you were not. Okay, now, with that being said, I'm gonna try and go back and watch the games. But I got to think, and I would think you guys would think, if Judon was in coverage 60% of the time, Jimmy Lake would have been fired game 8. That's just my thoughts. Okay, Judon is not a coverage defensive end. He is a pass rusher, get after it. He's not the kind of guy you drop in coverage. Every now and then, that's one thing. But 60% of his snaps, I don't buy that. I don't buy that. Now, with that being said, I don't even know that it was a lack of effort. I think it was unsurety, right? As what the hell are we doing? As what do I do here? As it's third and what I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing, and that is going to lead to trepidation and hesitation. And I think that's what you saw. I think Matthew Judon in the right system is going to get after it. Look, he probably is not coming back, and I can't blame him. But yeah, other than that, I agree with everything that Bryce said. I think Jimmy was clearly out of his depth. If you want to know the truth, I think Jimmy had no business running an NFL defense. And I think that is a failure on Raheem. Raheem, I love you to death, but that's a failure on your part, bud. You can't have that. You know what I mean? That's like somebody who's never coached football at all. You know what I mean? Or maybe you coached, I don't know, flag football at your son's weekend rec league, and now you're a defense coordinator. That's just not going to work. You know what I mean? I know what we're going to do. We're going to try the amoeba defense. No, it's a little different.
You can't do that.
It's a little different. So that's how I feel about it.
No, I agree with you guys, man. I do agree with you guys. And that's why I said I know he exaggerated, because I was like 60%. No, you wasn't, because if you was in pass coverage 60%, I honestly feel like we would have gave up more points. I mean, and again, to your T. Will's point, Jimmy Lake probably would have been fired a lot sooner, because it's really like, what are you doing? So yes, he did exaggerate, and Craig is even saying the same thing. Judon did exaggerate 60%, but in his defense, it seemed like everyone was used to the wrong way of James Lake defense. Yeah, man. I mean, and that's why people start giving him the terrible nickname to have, and Jimmy Lake Lanier. That was wild. But
I think it was
I mean, that's just.
I think it was well deserved. I think it's where defenses go to die, Chris. I think it's very well deserved.
It was bad. It was bad, guys. Like, of course, that's what we had to realize. It was bad, but at the same time, we do have to acknowledge the fact that Judon did lose a step. He's not the same player that he was, but it's not helping him, dropping him back in coverage at all, honestly. So we brought him over to go get the quarterback. You want to do something like that, you try that with a different player or a project or something like that. I don't think you do that. But again, you bring, you try to give you, as far as Coach Raheem, you try to bring in your buddy, and it just didn't work. So we ain't even got a dancer dancing to that again. That song and dance is over. We have Jeff Ulbrich now, somebody that is definitely a better defensive mind, someone who's been here before. We got to give him his shot and his opportunity. And I'm pretty sure he's more motivated than ever, especially after everything that circled around the draft and the fines and all that stuff like that. So I'm glad that is calmed down. But honestly, yeah, man, Judon, it was unfortunate, because I did, so I like the whole red sleeves and the whole, I liked it and everything. I wish it worked out a little bit more, but unfortunately it only produced 5.5 sacks. And we also got to think about this too. I think the entire defense regressed under Jimmy Lake, honestly. Just everybody. Everybody regressed.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Like, the defense, like I said, it's like people would make the argument like, oh, well, maybe we overplayed, or like we played better than what we should have under Nielsen. I was just like, no, it's understandable if a couple players regressed, and it's like, all right, it may be them. Mm-hmm. But like when everybody was, even the good players were butt, I was like, come on now. You can't say that all the players are just not as good. Like, no, because my issue with Jimmy Lake, and I think this is the big issue. First, I didn't think he knew what he was doing, but second, the issue was he came into the league thinking he could just say, hey, I have a system, y'all play my system, regardless of what your skill sets are. Mm-hmm. And you can't do that. When you have a system in the league. You have to be able to adapt to what players can do well while also trying to get your system across. Like if you know you have a bunch of, let's say you're usually a zone, like you usually like a zone defense, but you know you have man-to-man corners. You may start to be like, all right, we're going to incorporate more man with the zone to make it work. You know what I'm saying? Like you ain't just going to be like, well, I know y'all man-to-man, but I'm going to play zone even though y'all suck in zone and we're just going to do that all the time. Like
Right.
That's the problem. I don't think he doesn't have that type of mind where I think he could see talent and say, I know how I can best use you. Where I'm looking at Jeff and he's had talent in New York and he's seen it with Robert Saleh and even before that, he actually has a plan and an idea to be like, all right, this is how I want my defense to play. This is how I want my defensive linemen to play. This is how I want my corners to play. You have that tells me you already have an idea. You already have a plan. And Jimmy Lake didn't have a plan. And we saw that. After the first 2-3 weeks when the Falcons defense was like, okay, just went downhill. And Raheem was like, all right, I guess I got to do something. By the bye week, defense starts like all of a sudden we couldn't get no pressure. After the bye week, we were able to get 4 sacks a game. How do you just randomly be able, what were you teaching them that made them unable to sack the passer?
Man, that's absolutely nothing. And we've seen that. And again, that's why I say everybody regressed. Everybody went backwards. Jesse Bates, even though he's still all pro Jesse Bates, he even looked a step slow, even looked confused. Justin Simmons looked like how do you go from being an all pro the prior season and then you just come here and just completely fall off a cliff, completely look lost. Caden Ellis, Troy Anderson, well, we know the injury bug really got him, but it's like he was the only one that really looked decent in the defense that Jimmy Lake was calling. But ultimately, like I said, complete team failure. It was a failed experiment. That's exactly what that was, an experiment, and it failed. And we are here now, of course, with more experience, something that we should have had from the beginning, because you hate to, think about hindsight and just like, well, maybe what if you had did this earlier? Or what if you had an experience, some coordinators, blah, 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 blah. It just has to start those conversations. It's unfortunate. But, hey, one thing that I know Craig, he had said earlier, he was saying that Judon may go to the Bengals. Can you see Judon possibly ended up in there in Cincinnati? I know they have a disgruntled Trey Hendrickson who says, I'm not playing without a new contract, darn it. So, I mean, you never know. Maybe he could end up there. That would be nice for him.
Hey, man, I wish Judon well. It wasn't his fault that Jimmy had no business coaching in the way. It's hilarious, man, that if you can't see that you need to adapt your system to your players, what are you doing in the league? What are you? Even I know that, and I've never coached in the NFL. I never coached it. Even I know that. I mean, come on. You know what I mean? No. You guys, who the hell are you? Like that, whatever. I'm not going to, you know what? I'm going to get off my soapbox.
It's easy, man, to get on Jimmy Lake. I don't blame you, he will.
When you sit back and think about it, I'm like, in what universe did you think this was going to work? In what universe did you think to yourself, I know, I'm going to drop Judon. I'm going to drop Judon in coverage. He's gonna cover a tailback coming out, and this is gonna work out great. Oh my bro, whatever. Okay. Look, we turned the page. We got a new defensive coordinator. Thank God he has experience in the NFL and some success. And I'm excited about what we got going on. But as far as Judon is concerned, I think he has a gripe. I really do. Because the thing you got to look at is that's impacting his signability, or his, what's the word I'm looking for? His industry sexiness, his appeal. He's a pass rusher. You know what I mean? You got this guy out doing coverage and he got 5 sacks. You're impacting his livelihood in the next year. And I would be pissed as well. I don't blame him. I don't blame him one bit. I'd be pissed as well. Yeah. So,
So what do you guys think about this comment here? Because it said, Craig says it probably caused Grady to leave. That's an interesting conversation, because, I mean, I don't think anyone that's a veteran will want to play in this defense. We've had former football players say they wouldn't want to play in this defense, just whether it's pro, recreational, semi-pro, like I've heard it all. I wouldn't want to play in that defense, and I wouldn't want to do that. So it's just like, man, do you think it possibly did cause Grady to leave? Like, I don't know.
I personally, I think with Grady, I think that's more of just, he's been loyal to the franchise for so long, and I think he's just been sticking through it. And I think he just got to a point where he's like, it's time for something new. I don't think any defensive coordinator would have brought him back. Because you go through these things every year, and you're just kind of like, especially with how we've been the last few years, and he may have just was like, all right, it's time to do something a little different, be a part of something different, just see how it goes. So I don't think, because they fired him very quickly after the season, so it's not like he didn't know there was a new D coordinator coming in,
right?
Which is why I don't feel like that really impacted his decision. I just think that he was just kind of like, I just think it's time for me to, do something different and move on. And he made that decision, and I respect him for his decision. And I hope he does well in Chicago. And, we move with what we got. So.
Yeah, I think we got somebody. What up, Ryan?
Yeah, Ryan. Ryan from the Birdcage popping in on us.
How you doing? Ryan up here tonight. What's up, Ryan?
I ain't speaking to you. I'm still mad at you.
Oh, my God, you are not still mad at me.
I'm still mad at you about that damn mock draft.
Oh, Lord, I
don't think I forgot about that. What's going on, everybody? Auntie Will.
What's going on? How you doing, Ryan? You all right?
Hey, man. Another day, another dollar, man. Me and my man didn't get to do the slow burn today, and I just got done helping educate the youth with a science project. So I said I had a few minutes, so let me jump on for a sec with the brothers, man. Y'all know I'm gonna go hard on bumper to bumper tomorrow, so I'm gonna be chill tonight. I'm just gonna be chill.
Yeah, I already know you got that in the morning.
Because here's my thing. I hear what y'all are saying about Judon, but let's be real. You're literally asking the guy. I'm gonna give you a good example of this. You're asking the guy that might cook Mediterranean food to try to cook soul food that's never been in the kitchen down south, doesn't understand what pork fat is or anything of that sort. They cook totally different over there in the Mediterranean when you talk about halal food and things of that sort. So the experiment that Jimmy Lake had here in Atlanta, I don't put that on Judon. Judon was still making plays when he was able to make plays, when he was told to go get the quarterback. That wasn't an issue. The issue was the scheme that they were running. And when you have, and T. Will, I ain't letting you get off the hook for this one because you wanted to be Mr. Positivity for Jimmy Lake. And I told you.
You're right.
I told you this.
You are 100% right.
Yeah. Because you used to get, because guess what? You gave me grief. You gave me grief.
I did. I was trying.
But you know what?
You were trying to say, Jimmy.
But you know what, though? I respect the fact that you gave that man everything. But here's my thing. My grandfather told me, how bad can I say things on this show?
We try to keep it, I say respectable at least.
Chris works
my grandfather. I'm gonna tell you just how my granddaddy said it. Boy, you can smell bullshit a mile away. And here's the thing, Jimmy Lake. I'll put it this way: the Jimmy Lake hire was just as bad as bringing Steve Sarkisian in when he was fresh off the bottle. That's the best way to. That's the best way to describe it.
That was tough.
Yeah, because think about it. That's his good friend that he brought in and gave a job to, and you already have one of the greatest defensive minds in the NFL in Jerry Gray in your room already, and you make him an assistant head coach, but you kind of just keep him in the secondary spot because you want your buddy to do this. But when you kind of pull rank and you let Jerry do his thing and you would throw some ideas here and there, you saw the difference in that defense. Big difference. Right. So again, keep telling y'all this, and I'm making a joke out of it because we can laugh to keep from crying. This is what happens when you let these light-skinned brothers come up in this city and try to run.
Here we go.
You got to get the chocolate brothers to get the job done correctly. Understand that. See, you know I got to cut up. You know I got to cut up A1. But I'm just gonna be honest though. When you really look at what he's brought in when you look at Coach Ollie, then you look at Coach Olbrich, and think about this. Coach Olbrich played in the NFL for a little while, and I always put this out. Jerry Gray was a first-round pick. Most people don't remember when Jerry Gray was playing for the Rams back in the day, and he was a first-round pick out of University of Texas, and he was an All-American all 4 years he was there. His numbers were tied. Put it this way, he's in their Texas Hall of Fame for a reason. So the man understands how to play. He played for the Rams. We got to see him as a division rival. Then he goes to the Oilers and plays with another great defensive mind who cultivated the Falcons' greatest defense of all time with Jerry Glanville.
Yep, Jerry Glanville.
So put it this way. You got a guy that had a little bit of Jerry Glanville cooked up the grits blitz defense, something that T. Will remembers when he had hair. So, it's true. T. Will had an afro. T. Will had the S curl fade. My dog then did it all. So when you look at it, Jerry Gray is really a Jerry Glanville disciple. And you look at his football acumen, his IQ, and you look at how he sees the game. Let's be real. AJ Terrell has gotten better since Jerry Gray has been here. Period.
Yeah, indeed.
And I'm not the biggest AJ Terrell fan, but I'm going to give credit to where credit is due. D. Alford, yeah, he's up and down, but he was at least making plays when Jerry Gray came here. So the problem, as we say, is Jimmy Lake. The question is, how do we recuperate from having talent on the defense where you had pieces where we could have made a playoff run to now you draft young killers, pretty much apex predators on the outside. You revamp the linebacking core and you bring in 2 hungry safeties who literally are Jesse Bates clones.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way to describe it. I'll say this. Xavier Watts is Jesse Bates. Bowman is a guy that I would have to describe when you say from the strong safety position because he can come down in the box. I would say he's got a little bit of a range of a Chuck Cecil. He'll come up and hit you like Chuck used to. But the difference is he could actually cause turnovers. He's a turnover machine. And he's a ball hawk. And he could also hit you hard enough to make you fumble. So I think we have the good pieces to at least win the division if we are competent enough to actually do things correctly. I don't care how much sunshine and cinnamon you sprinkle on it. If this fool can't get out of his way, T. Will, no matter how much positivity and rainbows and sunshine you bring out your behind, guess what? It's what it is. Raheem is the problem. He has no excuse this year. None.
Hey, we got to get it done. And this thing about it is when we drafted those bookings, when we really just looked at the entire draft and then drafted free agency, we looked at it and we had to say, like, hey, Terry cooked. He went and got the groceries. It's all on the coaching now. It's on the scheme. It's on Olbrich. It's on, Raheem to put everybody in the right place. In the, whatever you want to call, whatever defense you want to call, whether it's a 4-3 hybrid, 4-2-5, whatever you want to call. It's like at the end of the day, we have to be able to execute. You got the groceries, Raheem. You have the groceries, Jeff. Nate Ollie. I'm really excited about Nate Ollie just because he's been able to transform defenses everywhere he's gone. Whether it's by committee, whether they got bookends, he's been able to do it. So I'm very excited about what Nate Ollie is going to be able to do when he places his hand firmly on this defensive line, because I believe that is going to have to be one of our strengths this year, going to get after the quarterback, helping out the guys on the back end, but also giving them opportunities to take the ball away and give us more opportunities for our young quarterback and our young phenom, Bijan Robinson. Like, seriously.
Yeah, 100%, man. Literally, I would say what from what Ryan said too, it's like they're banking on coaching this year. They're banking on development with a lot of the young guys they have. They believe that they can coach them to be able to play at a certain level, especially like I said, after Jimmy Lake, who I said didn't have a plan, kind of just was doing whatever. Now you have Jeff, who I feel like has a plan. He's been around the Jets where they had talent. They had to have a plan. Even through all the stuff they went through, they still had a plan. They knew what their foundation was. And I think he's just trying to bring that here to Atlanta. And obviously, like we said, Nate Ollie coming in, doing the same thing what he's done before he came here as well. And we already know about Jerry Gray. And So it seems like they feel like they're very, very confident in the coaches they have in place, and they feel like they can get the most out of their young players and use them in different ways. I think that's the biggest thing I've always talked about. It's just the fact that they can use – I feel like they're going to be used better this year. And then you will see an uptick because of that instead of being used incorrectly. And then you see just what are we doing? Like you could tell during the year last year, even at the beginning of the season when they were like halfway decent, I was like, you can tell this is like something's going to break here. And it broke. And then it was just terrible from that perspective. Like I said, can't go from getting no sacks to now you can get after the passing. You know what I'm saying? So
right.
Can I ask Bryce something real quick? Because it was something I forgot to ask him the last time he and I, when he was on the draft special.
Oh yeah,
Bryce.
Yeah.
So I'm not clowning. I'm actually going to be serious in my journalism voice now, so I can get serious with you guys for a sec. So when you look at the percentage of pressure that James Pierce had in the SEC, he had the highest blitz percentage, and he actually was very disruptive. And then you had Jalen Walker, who was really a Swiss Army knife, and you look at how they're going to be matched up. And then you got, I don't have any expectations for Trice because up here, he's got to get this right mentally because the physical is there, just mentally. How do you feel they're going to be able to mix in these young guys with the veterans, and what type of leadership do you see coming from a Leonard Floyd, and how does it trickle down? How does it trickle down to these guys being able to produce at a high clip within 17 games? And when do you think they're going to take the muzzle off these young guys?
That's a good question. So I think the thing is, I think they're going to rely a lot early on Floyd and Ebiketie because they're guys who've played, especially Floyd, because he's the veteran of the group, the experience. He's been on good defenses. He knows what it takes. And like I said, Ebiketie's been a guy who he's kind of, people would say, has been our best-ish pass rusher, even though it seems like he starts off slow but kind of heats up as the season goes on. They allow him to get more snaps and more reps, and you start seeing some production with that. So I think what they're going to do is rely on those guys. And then early in the season, at least situationally, they're going to use Walker. They're going to use Pierce in certain different situations. I expect a full pass rush package. I know when Steve Weiss was talking to Chris and them, he talked about them maybe doing some 5-2, some 5-man fronts. I very much expect a pass rush package with Floyd, with Walker, with Pierce, and Ebiketie. Because I think the biggest thing is that it's one of the reasons why they're putting Walker at an edge to start, because they just want him to focus on developing that, getting confidence in that before they start maybe trying to use him like they can use Caden Ellis and use him in some different some schemes where they maybe start him off at the line, double A, and then bring him back. Obviously, we got to pick off that last year against Washington. So I think that will help them come along. And then if they produce and you start seeing an uptick from them, then you'll start to see a reps increase. And then I've said it's possible if either Walker or Pierce, depending on how it trends, maybe could supplant Floyd by the end of the year, but that's not a bad thing because Floyd also is an older guy. So, hey, right. if you're cutting back snaps on him, that will only help him stay fresh. And then the young guys can continue to build off of that.
And what helps is he'll be in the playoff. What helps is when he'll be in the playoffs or whatnot, if he's well rested, he's going to be able to bring that juice and that experience to help these young guys. And I know I see Cowboy. I just wanted to ask T. Will something because I definitely just love just asking questions and just hearing where everybody else's minds are. Me and A1 do this all the time. So
sure.
With T. Will. So the question I got for you is this.
Yes, sir.
So when we look at Jalen Walker and you look at how he was a Swiss Army knife at Georgia, now the one thing that no one talks about is his pass coverage skills. Everybody keeps talking about how if you've never watched Georgia football and you didn't watch this kid, he can actually run like a deer when he's chasing running backs in the flats. How do you think him being able to guard running backs and tight ends is going to help this offense? Help this defense when it comes to pass coverage underneath?
I think that'll be great. You probably won't see it initially because I do know that with both of them, initially they want them to focus on pass rushing. And before I get into this, Falcon Pandemic, what's going on, brother? How you doing, man?
Hey
What's
man,
good, man?
I'm ecstatic. I'm looking at this panel here. I'm
Hey,
telling you. I mean,
hey,
I'm surrounded by greatness.
hey.
Hey, man, appreciate it, man. Thank you for
Man,
having
no,
me
listen,
on.
stop telling lies, man. We just average Joes, brother.
Hey, man.
I'm just a hardworking black
Hey
man
man,
trying to make it in America, big dog.
Oh
hey man.
man.
Hey,
Says
like
the
I said, on our level, man, I'm surrounded by. I'm doing good, y'all. How y'all doing?
we're doing good, man.
Doing
Hey,
great,
Amazing.
I
doing
hadn't been
great,
on the show with you in about 8 months, man. So I wanted to make
man.
up for a long time, man. That's all I wanted. But no, Ryan, in all seriousness, I think initially they will just focus both with he and James Pierce on just pass rushing, probably in obvious pass situations. Get them in, get them some sacks, get their feet wet. And then maybe after game 8, game 9, game 10, contingent upon how they digest the playbook and, what tasks they're given, then maybe we'll see Pierce, or I'm not Pierce, but Jalen Walker expand. But my expectation is essentially what Jeff Ulbrich said: is we just want him to focus on pass rushing initially. But I agree that is a skill set. And look, maybe year 2 we'll see a lot more of that. Right? That's just my thoughts.
I got a question for the Cowboy,
Hey, what's
Atlanta
going on,
fan,
Chris?
Falcon
Yep.
fan. Dim. I want to
Yeah.
know early on. I know it's too early, but we're gonna do it anyway. Who is your breakout star for the Falcons defense this season?
Oh man,
Like, who's gonna be that
that's a
breakout?
good question. I mean, because we're right now, man, looking at all these players we brought in. Oh man, it's really hard to pick. But I'm looking for Xavier Watts
That was
to
going
make
to
a
be
statement
mine.
back there.
That
I'm
was
looking for him to make a statement back there. Being paired up with Jesse Bates. I mean, he got one of the best ever. I mean, that played the position, and he's already I'm going to say, I'm not going to quite call him a GOAT at his position yet, because we have not seen what he's able to do on his level. But what he was doing on a college level, and the way he's able with his skill set, he already has all the tangibles needed to become the next great Atlanta safety. Now, I'm not going to put him up there, on the same scale with a Scott Case or Keanu O'Neal, but I'm going to put him in the same light. I'm going to put him in the same light. Now, as far as Matthew Judon, and I couldn't wait to make a comment on him. I'm an old school cat, so I'm going to play devil's advocate on him. If you're going to be a veteran, you got to act like a veteran. I mean, I granted, Jimmy Lake didn't know what he was doing. You got put in a situation where you couldn't put your skills out. But at the same time, when you were given the opportunity to make plays, you didn't make them. Yeah, you got your 5.5 sacks, great. But when you were put in there before I say this too, when people started giving me the excuses that he was double teamed on a lot of plays, I made it a point to not just watch the game, but watch Matthew Judon. Because people
Right.
saw the piece that I did on him. I did a whole hour-and-a-half piece on Matthew Judon. And I was actually for him coming to Atlanta. I wanted him here because I wanted him to help Grady. I wanted him to help this Atlanta defense.
Right.
But he didn't come in the way, even when the defense was doing what it's supposed to do, seemingly in the first half of the season, Matthew Judon wasn't doing his piece. He wasn't doing his part until the latter part of the season, where typically it did not matter. And Atlanta was making all kind of mistakes. Coaching wise, defensive wise, offensive wise, we were making all kind of mistakes. And Matthew Judon, as a veteran, at this point, you should have just kept your mouth shut about the deal. Jimmy Lake wasn't using you like you were supposed to. Yes, you played out of position. No one should have ever seen you run down the field, in coverage.
That
Now,
criminal,
the one thing I
criminal.
want to hold him accountable for, you as the season came along, you got out of shape.
Yep.
You didn't look like
The
the
worst.
same person in Minnesota. You didn't look like the same person that was in New England. Your uniform didn't fit right. You was looking sloppy. You were playing slow. So you didn't look like the same person, and the production did not match that. So I'm going to hold him accountable when it comes to minicamp wise. He's probably going to still be here, unless they get rid of him for money reasons. He's going to be here. He's going to be here to compete. So he got to come into camp ready, prepared, and ready to play with these young guys. Or either that, or like Kirk Cousins, at the very least, come in and mentor these young boys, because that's what they are. They're men, but they're young boys. So you got to be there to mentor them. You got to play that veteran role. I know I went on a rampage there, but I was on a soapbox last week.
No, that was beautiful.
Yeah.
The only thing I disagree with you about is that bum Keon O'Neal. I don't care about the one Pro Bowl. The joke couldn't stay on the field. Now, see, I don't have no problem with standing on the soapbox against you. Everything else, man, you about made me pull out my wallet and start donating to the church. Until you said Keon O'Neal was one of them top safeties. No, sir.
Well,
like,
I looked at Keon O'Neal as one of those enforcer hitter type.
Keon O'Neal missed more, but this is what everybody don't realize. Everybody looks at the big hits. He missed more tackles than he made. That is what hurt him. And then he had hands like bricks.
Yeah,
that cost us in the playoff game. But
yeah, he couldn't make
get on him because he's gone. Hey. But I say this about Xavier Watts. There's a guy that he kind of reminds me of, and it ain't Jesse Bates. I think he plays like Bates. And since you're an old school cat, you know I'm a historian, so I'm gonna give you a name. And he was one of the toughest safeties to play the game, and unfortunately, his career was cut short. And he finally made the Hall of Fame. Kenny Easley. I want you to look at the size. I want you to look at the speed. I really want you to look at the aggression that he comes downhill with. Unfortunately, we as Bulldog fans got to see that.
Yeah,
first thing. So. If for the youngsters out there, if you don't know about Kenny Easley, YouTube him, please. Yeah. That man was the original godfather of boom and literally turned around that Seattle Seahawks franchise with Steve Largent. So if you really want to know, Kenny Easley was blood and guts.
Yeah.
Right. I know excuse me, Mr. Robert Blackman here. He was asking the question about what about those second-year players on defense? You already know, like the Rooks, the Brandon Dorlises, some guys like that. Like, what about those guys? I mean, I know both of those guys added size, so they're coming back bigger this year. And I believe, the coaching staff wanted to put that size on because we plan on, putting them on the line, possibly in the middle, helping move around some things. Like, I would love to see it because we felt like a lot of us did say when we drafted them last year and in the early part of the season, we weren't playing them like that. They were necessarily for this year. And guys, you think about it. Look at all the different guys that we got, like a Dorless, Braylon Trice, who's coming back off injury. You got Ruka Roro. You got Jalen Walker, James Pierce. All these guys have one thing in common, right? They were high. They were high as far as like generating pressure. So that's one thing Terry has went and got guys who are high on the list about generating pressure. What's good to the Dixon Way? Shout out to him. Shout out to Atlanta Braves as well. I know they took care of business. But yeah, I mean, guys, I want to know what your thoughts are. What about these second-year players? What's going to be their role? How big of a role they're going to get in this defense now?
Oh, it's plain and simple. It's their time. Their time is now. And I don't know how much you guys know about the Grits Blitz back in the day, but this team right here is built just like the Grits Blitz. A whole
9.3 points a year. In the season.
Oh my goodness! I mean, you got that front seven, and behind that front seven is a whole bunch of speed of guys who like to hit, can get in the a bunch of no-name guys. They can come and get of it.
You know what it was, guys.
A camp that's going to be full of competition across the board. It's going to be all competition across the board at every position, even at quarterback. I love it.
He said, wait a minute. Now that's those are some big shoes to fill because that Grits Blitz defense back in the day, literally, the 85 Bears didn't even have better numbers than they did, and neither did the 86 Giants. Or the 2000 Ravens, or even the 2002 Buccaneers. They were great defenses, but that Grits Blitz defense had one of the best. And I'm going to say it. I love John Abraham. He's one of my favorites. But I'm gonna tell y'all Falcon fans like this: greatest pass rusher we ever had wore number 87, and that number is unfortunately handed out to Mr. Claude Humphrey, Tennessee State alum. So when you talk about that, that was him and Tommy Nobis were the anchors of that defense, and Roland Lawrence.
Yeah.
So when you mentioned that that brought back, we had Dewey McClain on our show, who was a part of that defense. And he talked about it.
Yeah.
Dewey talked about it with us, and he came to our party that we had, and he sat back and I asked him, I said, what was the one thing that, and matter of fact, Doug Plank, former Chicago Bears safety, he came on the podcast as well. Now, one thing they both said, because they all talked about it, and I talked to him and I asked him, Doug actually said the 85 Bears got their concept of defense from the Atlanta Grits Blitz, because back in the day, like how you see on mini camps and stuff like that, how teams go scrimmage, Doug Plank said we scrimmaged them, and he said we had never seen Walter Payton get beat up like that before. And Walter was getting his ass, and Walter's my idol, by the way. I'm a Falcon fan, but Walter is my guy.
Right.
Walter was getting his ass handed to him. Now, those were Doug Plank's words when he was on the show. And he said Buddy Ryan took that concept because they started losing linebackers to injuries, and he went down into the box as an extra linebacker, and that was where the blitz concepts came in at. But the thing that Jerry was good at was bringing waves and waves of pressure with Joel Williams, Buddy Curry, Roland Lawrence. He was bringing safety blitz. Fulton Kuykendall coming in there, God rest his soul as well. So when you look at it, I think we have pieces, but I'm sorry because I'm really tough on it. I'm excited, but I'm not going to give them that mantle, because if we can't keep people up under 14 points a game, we can't say Grits Blitz 2.0. I want to see it.
Yeah.
But we gotta see that consistency that defense had. And it's gonna take time.
Yeah, true indeed.
What you think, Bryce, about the second-year players, man?
Yeah, I mean, I think, obviously for those guys, they're kind of like the key to this entire thing, just because there's a lot of unknown with them. Just because they didn't have as much of a role or a defined role last year. So obviously, like I said, Trice just getting back from the injury, just mentally getting himself back, and then just trying to. And the thing is, like I said, with the way they built it, he won't be relied on to like carry a pass rush. They just want him to be a component. And then, if it seems like he's coming along, if he gets the explosiveness back and he does a good job, then again, snap counts can change. Obviously, Rook is a guy they're excited about. Very athletic defensive tackle. Very explosive guy. Probably, I think he tested as one of the most athletic tackles coming out last year. So obviously they're expecting that up front from that. And then even like with Dorless as well, the fact that they're, going to use him, I think the way he probably should be used when he plays this season, and just kind of let him work and just kind of let him do their thing. I think if those guys hit, then I think that's where you see the excitement building with the defensive line, because now you have a lot of pieces and a lot of talent, because that's the thing we have is talent, but now can it be molded? And if it can be molded, that's when then you will see the fruits of the labor on the field. And I think that's what Raheem and the coaching staff and Ollie and all of them are relying on, is that we can mold these guys. And the thing about young players I always say is if they are good, if they do like start the season well, they're only going to get better as the season goes on, which is a good thing. Because sometimes when you get those veteran defenses, that in terms of like them as players, they're not going to necessarily get better. Where young players, it's like, oh, this is them now. As time goes on, you expect that to improve. So now what they're gonna look like by the end of the year. So obviously, you're gonna have the things that come with young players. You're gonna have maybe the calls aren't always the crisp, communication is not always the best, and that's why you gotta rely on the guys. They have a leader at every unit. Jesse Bates secondary, Hayden Ellis in the linebackers, and defensive line. You have Floyd, and you technically have I forgot his name, from New Orleans.
David Almanyata.
Yeah, technically. So you have those two.
You remember.
They have guys who I think are going to help along with that process as well.
Yeah. You know what I need too? I need somebody to step up and be a voice. Because every championship team we took to the Super Bowl, we had somebody that was a voice of the defense. Deion John was the voice of the defense. It's one thing for you yourself as an individual to play with the passion. And that's one thing Terry Fontenot did in this draft. We brought in a lot of guys that were very passionate about their position. But we need somebody to be on that defense to be a voice. Remember when Calais Campbell was here, he was a voice. he got everybody in line playing. And that defense seemingly, with Ryan Nielsen, they seemingly was going and headed in the right direction. But like right now, who is that voice? We got a bunch of new people in here. So who's going to be that voice? Jesse Bates is not that type of guy. You know, he rather lead by example, like Grady Jarrett was. Now, who's going to be that guy coming out the tunnel and being that Ray Lewis type of guy? You know what I mean? We don't have that person. We haven't had that person
Yeah, we
in a
do.
long time. Who is that?
You look, he's gonna earn his stripes first, but I'm gonna tell you, just like this here, he wears number 11. If you're a dog fan, you know,
Jalen?
because
I
I
can
don't
see
know
it.
if you saw the clip of the Texas
I
game
can
or
see it.
whatnot,
Yeah.
and he said, "Hey, you're not gonna be able to touch me tonight. You can't hold me." And he was talking. Think about it. And the guy he was talking to was the New Orleans Saints, Kelvin Banks, who they just drafted. He
Yeah,
was
yeah.
talking to him the whole night.
Wow. Yeah.
And here's the thing, Jalen is a guy that will talk. He'll say something when he needs to, but he's a guy that's gonna come in. He's gonna come in and work. But I'm gonna be 100 with you. I said this up front. If you don't want to draft any guys with any background pass, I get it. But the two guys that you just brought in the first round, they both got mean streaks. That's something else that nobody talked about.
Yeah.
We bring in. I'm sorry to do this. I'm not going to be sacrilegious. We bring these in.
I knew you was about to
bring in
bring
these Bible thumpers. This is what we bring in. You see this? People that thump the Bible. Lord, forgive me for that, but it's just what it is. We bring in too many Bible thumpers.
Yeah.
Hey, we bring in too many Bible thumpers out here. What you need is a guy that don't mind after the game. I might be like Charles Oakley for a minute. I might slap you if I see you in the hallway after the game. You have to have those guys that on the defensive side of the ball. If anybody played football, I was a defensive player. So for me, I talk trash. That was me. And I got in your face. Yeah. Now, I also worked hard, and I always told my boys, hey, if I mess up, get in my face. Tell me about it. I can respect it. And that's how you earn that trust. These two kids that you just brought in, from Pierce and Walker, I'm going to be 100 with you. James Pierce has the quick first step of a John Abraham. It's the honest to God truth. He got a quick step like John. So does Jalen.
That's saying a lot.
Yeah. But I'm going to be 100 with you. But this is the other thing I said. I'm okay with Pierce being a guy that's in the mode of a John Abraham and a Chuck Smith. I believe Jalen gonna be just as good as Claude Humphrey.
I see it.
I'm putting the expectations on the young man.
That's some big shoes, bro.
And here's my thing. I always mention Claude because he always gets forgotten, and everybody's saying, "Well, Prime is the greatest Falcon." Hell no.
Yeah.
Hell no. I'll stand on that. When you put it this way. Outside of Deacon Jones and Rich Tombstone Jackson from the Southern University, by the way, those three guys mastered that head slap. Yeah. And when you look at that, when you look at Claude was a big man. Claude was huge. And if you ever look at his film, Claude had a mean streak. He didn't mind hitting you in the face. Period. Jalen has that same type of attitude because we saw him do that to Kelvin Banks and do that to many guys that are drafted right now.
Right.
So you got those two on the edge. Arnold Evans better tighten up, and Zach Harrison better tighten up because these dudes here, they're gonna take their jobs. You don't get drafted in the first round for no reason.
They don't tighten up. That's what I'm saying. And it's contract year for
and they cuss at people too on the field. I'm gonna put that out there. They don't mind cussing you out. That is what we've been missing. Attitude.
I was just about to say that rough attitude, that attitude area. We haven't had that in quite some time. And it's time to get back to that. Time to get those guys who want to get after the quarterback, who take that. I mean, I'm not saying that other guys didn't take the Falcon logo with pride, but the guys that maybe like show it on a consistent basis. Like they're going out there and you're not going to come in our house, you know, to doing anything kind of crazy. Coming into your house and we're coming in to dominate. It is that time. And I believe, you know what I'm saying, right now by getting these two bookends like that, bringing them in, like Ryan said, they have a mean streak. I know James Pierce had the character issues thing, but my thing is I believe and I already know The Falcons went all the way back to high school talking to those type of coaches, having dinners with the families, all the stuff like that. They know exactly the player that they have in James Pierce, who is as tall as Kyle Pitts and bigger than Kyle Pitts, by the way. You know, this is a towering figure, and he's coming at the people quarterbacks, and he's wearing a Falcon jersey. There's exciting times in Atlanta, you know.
Yeah,
along
exactly.
with Jalen Walker, who of course is not only, you know what I'm saying, well-rounded when you think about, you know, so his speech, his ability, his IQ, and he goes out there on the field and he plays nasty as a snotty nose. And you gotta love it. You gotta love it. Yeah, bro. Yeah, Ryan. I know you wasn't ready for that, bro.
Just saying, you about to make me get a jalapeno pepper and bite and just sweat because that was just hot as hell. Damn, Chris.
Nasty as a snotty nose.
That's how he played. That's what we need. That's what we need.
Ooh-wee.
Fellas,
can you guys imagine? Yeah. Can you guys imagine the way if what's his name, the linebacker? Why I can't remember Caden Ellis?
If
he's able to come in and start and play like he ended last year,
man,
on the same side with
he got guys to keep keep him clean now. So that right there is gonna be,
he does.
That's gonna be nasty.
Remember when I asked you that question earlier? Remember I asked you that question earlier about the breakout player? Caden Ellis is my breakout player.
Yeah, I kind of think he broke out last year. Though.
But my thing is he should go even crazier this year.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
I got one for you.
Who you got?
He gonna be right in the back with Caden Ellis, but he's going to also have a chip on his shoulder because he's coming off. He came off an injury, and he came from the Raiders, and they cut him. Diablo's gonna be that guy. Nobody won't think about it. Everybody complained about him coming in. But when you got a guy that leads special teams in tackle when he was coming back, and then leads your team in tackles, and then you get rid of it, and now you're gonna send into a defense with Olbrich who likes linebackers. I'm good.
Hey. But who you guys got? Who you guys got at linebackers? Since we're talking linebackers, I know we got the edges set. We got the outside linebackers set.
Diablo,
so
Ellis.
Who's in the middle to lead that?
Yeah, I'm gonna say Ellis is gonna be in the middle.
You think Ellis is gonna be in the middle?
Captain America takes a step.
But he made his living playing outside linebacker last season.
Ellis, but guess what? Ellis knows the defense, and I think that's what's gonna shift him to the middle. But Diablo is going. I'm gonna put it this way: Diablo is gonna be our Hollywood Henderson. I went old school for you.
Yeah.
Minus the cocaine, by the way. Minus the cocaine. Hollywood Henderson was a god. Look, Lawrence Taylor said his idol was Hollywood Henderson, and he played just like him. Difference was Lawrence had a longer career. But Diablo is going to be a God sent from heaven, as Thomas Hollywood Henderson would say. He said, I was a God sent from heaven on the weak side. You put him on the weak side, and you put Captain America on that strong side. I think you have something. I think you have something that can be very, very productive in this linebacker room.
If Caden Ellis had a weakness, it would be in coverage. I can see him being a middle linebacker.
That's why I say you cover his deficiencies with that.
I want him going after the quarterback anyway. Caden Ellis, think about it, when the defense had changed over, Caden Ellis was one player that just popped. You know what I'm saying? Like on the tape, on the film, during the games, we were hollering Caden Ellis. And I know he didn't have generate a crazy number of sacks, but you just think about it and look at the tape. Think about how many times you've seen Caden Ellis almost getting there or generating pressure. Caden Ellis was in the backfield. So I want him to continue to go after these quarterbacks. Honestly.
Yeah, I loved it.
Speaking of games, though, guys, we are on the eve of the official schedule release, man. We already know, we know we're going to Berlin. We're the road team, even though we have media rights out there. But we're the road team, so in Berlin, Germany, against the Indianapolis Colts. That's going to be exciting time. I expect a bye week after that game. But my thing is, for week one, who do you guys think that we are going to play week one? Will we be on the road? Will we be at home? You guys let me know. I'm going to start with Bryce.
I can see them doing divisional rivals. So That could be Saints. I think it'll be either Saints or Carolina, potentially. If they want to go down that route, because I know sometimes they like to just they like to use that as like, oh, we're going to start the season hot, division rivals, rivalries, things like that. Which I also think would just be a good time to start your season out on a good note. Obviously, we know winning the division is the goal this year, so that's where I would see it going. If I had to do someone from out of conference, I mean, I would feel like that could easily maybe be one of the AFC East teams we face this year. I don't think obviously I think it would just be like a normal 1 p.m. Fox kickoff game, but that's where I'd probably go with it. I don't think we're gonna get because actually we started off tough with tough teams out the gate. I don't think we're gonna start off with some world beater out the gate, but a team that we probably will go in there and say we probably should be able to beat and a good chance to make a statement early. So
right. Ryan,
I agree. Did you guys?
I'll put it this way.
I saw the teams we're gonna play.
It was leaked. I think let's put it this way. Week 1 was kind of leaked already. I don't know if you got to see it on
New England. I did see something.
We might be playing. The word has it we might be playing New England in Week 1.
Yeah. Now here was the thing too, and I think it is. Isn't this schedule here this year easier than last?
I wouldn't say it's going to be easier than last.
Yeah, I would say that.
I would say it's going to be full of. I'll say this here. It'll be full of tests. I'm not going to say it's going to be easy. Now, if we do have a good record, I'm going to be honest with you. I got 9 to 10 wins this year. That's what I have. 9 to 10 wins.
That's
we are
a
capable
prediction.
of
9 and 8. That's a prediction.
No. I got 9 to 10 wins. My thing is on the show.
Not saying it's not my prediction. That's the one.
Oh no. Vegas got us going. Vegas got us going 8 or 9 wins. I got us going 10 wins.
Okay.
And the reason I say 10 wins is now Penix got to play the last 3 games. Mm-hmm. He sat on the side and actually got to watch what a 2-minute drill looks like at the end of pretty much at the end of a couple of games. Yeah, and he was a part of a 2-minute drill that should have got us into the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
So when you really look at it, I think he learned seeing how practice is, how competition is, what not to do. If you get what I'm saying, without being disrespectful to the backup that we have, he saw what not to do. But he's also going to have to learn that you're going to have to take the game in your hands and say the hell with what he's doing over here, because Raheem's shown at times he can be very human-like. And I'm being I'm being very respectful in my comments on Coach Morris, because at the end of the day, he's still a head coach at this point. Yeah, we can be mad about certain things, but we have to be a little bit. Now, the fans, y'all can say whatever y'all want. Y'all crucify him if you want to.
Exactly.
But on this end, we can say certain things, but we can't get too far out of pocket with it. But I will say, if Raheem has too many brain farts that cost us a playoff berth or even a division title this year, because we have an offense that has familiarity with each other already and they're gelling, that right there could possibly see his ass out the door. The offense should be able to win 9 to 10 games. The defense has got to learn how to play together. So that's going to take at least 7 weeks, but 7 to 8 weeks for that defense to gel. The offense can put up enough points to keep this defense, at least while they're learning, at least in a position where they can still make plays. So that's pretty much what I got for y'all. Man. Hopefully that kind of broke it down a little bit.
Yeah, I know. For me, I know because I know the New England thing. It's a strong possibility we may be going to New England Week 1. I mean, that's cool. That's fine. I'll tell you this: even if I want to play first home game, I want the Bucks. I want the division champions. I want the guys running the division.
Off the rip.
And off the rip, I want to see where I'm at. I want to see where I'm at. I want to see where they're at, because I mean, it's of course going to be a filling out process anyway, because we got them 2 times a year anyway. So I want to play the Bucks. The Saints would be cool, but at the end of the day, I'm not expecting a lot out of them. We know the cream of the crop for the last few years have been the Bucks as far as winning the division title. So I would love to see what my defense looks like under Jeff Ulbrich, under Nate Ollie. You know what I'm saying? Second year, Raheem Morris, you know what I'm saying? Hopefully more experience and better and no brain farts, as Ryan would say. You know, hopefully we do better. You know what I'm saying? Honestly, like at the end of the day, we got to play who we play. So, I mean, it is week after week, it is who it is. But I would love to play the Bucks, see where we're at with them. We got them twice a year again anyway. I would love to do that. And this is where I'm at. This is really where I'm at with Millie is, man. It don't even matter who we play first. Lace them up. We ready. You know
I just love y'all enthusiasm, man. Like real talk.
No, I love it.
It's just this is the first time in a long time. Now everybody was excited when Raheem got here, and we saw how the fan base could be when these wins started piling up. But you saw how quick it turned when we pretty much was in a situation that we often know too well.
Yeah.
But the one thing you can say when everybody started to buy into what last year was starting to be, you saw the stadium full. It wasn't visitors in there. Those Falcon fans in there. You saw the stadium was a little bit more aggressive. You know what I mean? Yeah. Now I'm gonna be honest with you. All you bougie fans out there, y'all got to put the champagne down, take the chains off. Y'all got to make this. Y'all have to make Atlanta a hostile place. You cannot make it. And this is me talking to the fans because I'm tired of just beating on the team. It's time to beat on these fans a little bit verbally. And y'all know I'm around the city. You see me say what's happening. But all I'm saying is this. We as fans, because I'm part of the fan base too, we have to start taking accountability with riding with this team all the way through. You don't just ride with them when they winning. You got to ride with them when they losing. And there's a lot of them who do. But the thing that you have to start doing, you have to start giving these guys energy. And when we say energy, you have to make it a hostile environment for opposite teams.
Yeah.
Period. If you never went to Fulton County Stadium, you missed a treat because that place was, when they were good, it was rocking. When they were bad, you know, everybody was getting drunk. I'm 38. I remember seeing if it ain't red, it's dead. I remember seeing that sign when I was a little kid.
Yep. It ain't red, it's dead.
And lastly, and I'm gonna wrap this up for me on this one. You have to start being in a position where you can accept real truth about this team. If we're not in it, we still are a long way away from competing for a championship. And I'm not saying this to be funny. I think we have great pieces that we've grabbed, but we still have to get depth, a little bit more consistency, and it's just like cooking in the kitchen. You can't rush a good meal unless you're a short order cook. But you have to be patient with these young guys and trust the process and their maturation, because it's going to take Penix at least 4 years to be a great NFL quarterback. I know you don't want to hear it, but it's going to take 4 years. Bill Polian said this on Sirius Radio, the Hall of Fame general manager. He went through it with Jim Kelly and Peyton Manning. Just saying. So when you look at it, this is Penix's rookie year. So y'all can't get on his head like that. Let him make his mistakes. It's gonna happen. So that's what I got.
That's exactly what I was saying the other day too. When me and Smitty was having the conversation about the MVP discussion, and I was just like, that's a lot to put on a guy who's having essentially his rookie season. If you're saying that he's going to be a dark horse for the MVP. Now I see the argument as far as the offense, the weapons, his talent, etc. But again, you know, it's a lot of guys with talent out there in the NFL, you know, so that's coming for the MVP. There's a lot of defenses that's going to go on stop Michael Penix. So again, just like Ryan said, he's going to have up and downs, but we have to just ride with him and let him ride it out, because I believe he is going to be a great quarterback. It is just going to take time. You know, so keep stirring the pot, keep that thing on medium. And, you know, so I feel like it should be all right. But guys, I'm not gonna lie, we don't talk a whole hour about Falcons. I'm gonna change the topic just a little bit for you guys. Just a little bit. Hey man, Giannis Antetokounmpo, he for the third straight season, his team, the Milwaukee Bucks, eliminated from the playoffs. Giannis is now according to Shams, is now open to possibly seeing if Milwaukee is the best place for his future or if he should be looking otherwise. Yeah, oh yeah, you see the switch up and everything like that. But yeah, so
You said you're switching it up. I got to do it like you said,
yeah,
bro. It's your platform, man. I'm just trying to follow suit, man.
So again, he's reportedly, say open to exploring the best fits outside of Milwaukee. And it's an article that's asking, is Atlanta an option? Well, yes, Atlanta is an option. The only problem is you guys may not like what we have to give up to do it, but we're going to, of course, dive into it. We're going to dive into it. So this is the actual trade. And I talked about it earlier on Hawks Digest. Make sure you guys, check out that video as well. But Jalen Johnson is involved in the trade. That's obvious. You're not going to be able to keep Jalen Johnson if you're trading for a player like Giannis. But also added to that is Zachary Ricochet. Zachary Ricochet has been added to that trade, and also they are saying an assortment of draft picks, possibly one draft pick this year and somewhere down, or both of them this year, and it's maybe a draft pick down the road or two down the road if you don't give them both in this year's draft. My thing is, guys, is this the time to pull the trigger? Is this the time to get somebody next to Trae Young right now? And his name is Giannis Antetokounmpo. I'm gonna start with Bryce. Bryce, let me know what you think, because I know you've been talking about this kind of already, and I know you had that great interview with Glenn. I know you've been talking with also Brad Rowland as well recently. So just tell me what your thoughts are.
I have been, obviously, you said I mentioned it. I have been someone, when they brought up Giannis, I have said if you can get the right type of deal, then sure. But the problem is for the Hawks and where they are right now, it would be very difficult for them to get that type of deal. If you're talking about just a straight up trade between the two teams, my concern has always been with Giannis is that, like everybody says, you're going to have to gut your team. And the issue with that is the Hawks are still recovering from the DeJounte Murray trade. And people forget we gave up 5 seconds for Sadiq Bey. So that's
right.
So we're recovering from those trades. So we're not an asset rich team. So to tell me, yes, we get Giannis. Yes, we be a playoff team. I agree with that. But my issue is that y'all gonna want championships. That's what y'all gonna want if y'all have Giannis here. And if you see how the NBA is now, with how the CBA changing has impacted team construction, roster construction is even more important than before. Assets are even more important than before, just because you can't just say, luxury tax your way, let's just get everybody we can. And so I've just been like, if we do that, let's say that's the trade like you mentioned. So our top 5 was what? Trae, Dyson, Giannis, Okongwu, and then
whomever.
What? George Niang? I mean,
no.
Who's the 5th person? And that's my problem, is that with teams in this league, depth is very important now. And with the CBA, it makes it harder when you spend a lot of money to make changes. And then the thing is, if you give up draft capital, how are the Hawks going to improve? The thing is the teams that you hear that are connected to them is like Houston, San Antonio, because they're asset rich. They can give up players and picks and be fine. The Hawks are not at that place yet where they can do that and be fine. We're just going to be hoping that Giannis and Trae go nuclear every game, and that's enough. And you still have Dyson, who is still trying to get better, still improving. That puts more pressure on him to have to, really get to a certain point. Because the thing is basically, if you look at every team in the playoff right now, they all have depth outside of Denver. They're just a very strong, top-heavy team. They have 6 solid guys. Everybody else pretty much can go 7 to 8. And I think if we do that trade, I get we could re-sign some guys, bring Karras back, things like that. I just don't know if that is going to be good. I'm worried that we're gonna get to the postseason, and I'm worried we're gonna end up like the Bucks, where you have no capital, can't really improve the team, and then you'll just have Trey and Giannis, and it's like, well, how can we get better?
And to Bryce's point, the Bucks don't own a first round draft pick until 2031. Remember, they got rid of a lot of picks for Dame Lillard. They thought that would work for them. And the Hawks, now I will say this, they are 14th in the league in assets, so halfway there. So they are 14th with assets, and that's because of what happened with the draft lottery. We have the 13th pick, the 22nd pick. And moving forward, we have an opportunity to either keep or, own our picks from 2026 on up to 2031. So they're thinking about future assets as far as future draft picks and everything. But Bryce, I understand what you're pointing, what you're saying, because if you do that, you're basically interjecting yourself into a win now situation. Do we have a win now roster? I don't think so. You would definitely have to make other moves, but it also begs the question, are we really going to go into the luxury tax like our owner has stated?
And I'll add to this too. Obviously, we don't have control, I think, of a couple more picks the next couple of years. So when we're
the 2027 pick, that's going to the Spurs.
Yeah. So when you're talking about trying to trade with the Bucks, if they're trading Giannis, that probably means they're going into a full-scale rebuild. Mm-hmm. If San Antonio is going to be a playoff team next year, then their pick's going to be in the 20s. How much value is that to Milwaukee, who's expecting to be bad? That's the thing on top of that. If we had a collection of bad teams' picks, then those picks are more valuable to Milwaukee. Because now they're like, oh, we can restart, and we're going to have some lottery picks, top 10 protected, top 7 protected lottery pick. Oh, yeah, we can do it. If we going to give them picks that are going to be in the 20s, Bucks are like, why would we take this trade? Why? Even if you're giving us picks, like, what are we going to do with that? Because, like I said, trading Giannis is a restart for them. So it's not just getting picks; it's the type of picks are we getting? Are we going to be able to get multiple lottery players to try to get this team? And potentially, as we can clearly see with the lottery, for the last 2 years, teams that have lost in the play-in have become the number 1 pick in the draft. The Hawks last year and Dallas this year. Yeah. So it sounds like to me there's more
Dallas
incentive.
Who never won the lottery.
Exactly.
1.8% chance. We had a 3% chance last year, though. To be fair, but I mean 1.8 is still less than 3.
They said Nico then launched the nuclear bomb, and then they just gave him the codes again.
Exactly. Go at it again, Nico. Hey, man. Hey, I want to know, but just off of the things that we're talking about, I mean, because at the end of the day, I mean, I think you should stay the course. I think you're building something in Atlanta. You're creating a foundation. Bryce, we've had this conversation many times this season already. So I think you are building something. You got Zachary Ricochet with some upside. Jalen Johnson, if he can stay healthy, he's a 20-10 guy. Because when he left, and with that injury, he was a 20-10 guy. So we have some pieces, some foundation. Dyson Daniels, most improved. We got the draft pick from the Lakers. We still got another draft pick that's coming up that's going to be least favorable from the Pelicans or the Bucks. But still, we have that coming down the pipeline as well. So we have some things to do. It's just, do you skip any steps as far as your development and your process to just say, hey, Giannis is available. Let's just go snatch him up now. And I just feel like that's really something that you got to really sleep on and really just be, like, we're no capologists up here, but you have to be able to navigate. That's where Anze Sala is going to come in, and he's going to have to figure out how can he do this. We still have trade exceptions too, $25 million trade exceptions, and a couple of small ones as well. What are we going to do about those? Because those expire this year. So it is a lot of different moving pieces to try to do. Oh, and by the way, you cannot use the trade exception to trade for Giannis, by the way. Yeah. So I just want to put that out there too. You can't add it or include it in a deal. It's got to be straight up for a player. So, like, for example, if you want a Cam Johnson, you could use the trade exception for that. But not Giannis, not Mr. 57 mil. Yeah, I threw that out there because you would have Trey, who's like 46, Giannis, who's 57. So that's most of your cap right there. And with that alone, you're definitely going into the luxury tax because you have to have somebody. You got to have that depth. So, again, but I want to know from you two guys on the bottom, Ryan Historian and Atlanta Fandemic, my guy E-Man. What do you guys think about trading for Giannis? Like, you've heard Bryce, you've heard, throwing some things out there too. What do you guys think about trading for Giannis Antetokounmpo? Is it time? Y'all be tripping? Is it like, like the older folks say, young blood, hold what you got? Like, I mean, what are you guys thinking?
Yeah, we could only wish that would happen. But here's the thing: how does this move set you up for the future? With the limited amount of assets you got coming in that Atlanta has, how does this move? Because you're gonna become money tight after if you make this move. So will he have enough support? Will Trey and Giannis have enough support coming in to take you to the next level as far as playing to the playoffs and beyond? The other question is, do you have enough balls between Trey and Giannis? Giannis demands the ball. Trey definitely demands it. Giannis is more of a team player than Trey. Let's be real about it. Trey has got to an age. Trey, say again?
No, I said, yeah, Giannis, he passes a lot. I mean, Trey, I feel like
Trey
he passed the most ever, of course, you know what I'm saying,
Yeah.
in his career this year.
But to me, and it's just my opinion, Trey plays off the handle a little bit. I mean, yes, he hit those 3-pointers. He makes the game more exciting, hitting balls from the logos and all that type of stuff. But I was looking for Trey to be more of a leader for these young guys that are in here now, to be more of a Magic Johnson type guy, distributing the balls to those guys. Because them guys are running the floor like crazy. I mean, they get the rebound, they taking off. And I was looking for Trey once he gets the ball in his hand to hit those guys running. And he kind of slows the game down a little bit. These guys are often running. Got Jalen running. Got y'all just called his name. Forgot his name already. But you got these young guys running the ball, and they hitting point. They're producing. But I was looking for Trey, and I thought like Trey would be more of a big distributor as a point getter. I was, yes, he can hit. Like I said, he can hit those 3-pointers when you need them, but he kind of a liability on defense. Because, the Hawks get on the run, and all of a sudden they start posting up, putting a bigger guard on Trey, and the game flip-flops. So, I mean, what kind of a support system do you have behind a move like this with Giannis? Yes, it's in limelight, yes, it looks good. In the glamour, it looks very good. But is it best for the team, as you were saying, going into the future? Even with the picks that we got, with guys coming in, is this a better move? Is it a good move? Are these guys going to be able to gel with Giannis? Because Giannis is he's very animated and he's very passionate about this game. And his mentality is far different from the young guys that are either already there or the ones coming in. These guys they like to run the floor, too. But like I said, the mentality is different. Giannis is all about he wants that win. He's very passionate about it. You know how passionate he is about it. But these young guys, they don't share that same passion. And it's not the younger guys coming in, they're like they see the limelight, they see the glamour thing as opposed to a let's go out and win type of thing, And Giannis wants that. Do Atlanta have that to support Giannis' mentality? We don't know. I think it's a great move. I think it is that chemistry between Giannis and Trey. I think it'll come back to Hunters. I don't know.
Okay, Ryan, what's your thoughts?
I'm at a point where when you talk about winning, I like to win, but I also want to be in a situation where we're set up for the future. Because let's be honest, ever since that 2021 Eastern Conference Finals run, we've been trying to get back to that place. And I'm not going to make excuses for it. Truthfully, that was our year to win the championship, being honest. Because let's be real, Trey don't hurt his foot, we go.
I think so.
We go easily.
I do.
And my thing was, I felt like Cam Reddish should have been on the floor a little bit more, just to be honest. That's just me. But to get to where we're at right now, that team was dismantled. You're seeing a lot of new guys here. from Jalen. Zach Ricochet got to be in. To me, I feel like this. Y'all got to put more weight on this kid first if you're going to keep him here. And he's got to be able to, he's already got height, but he's got to be able to be strong, being able to attack the cup, because we got too many people jacking up threes. We got to start getting guys that are slashers to the bucket, period. We got to get better with that. The wings that we have, I think we're good. But as for trading for Giannis at this point, how much does he have left in the tank? How long is he going to play for us? Because what if he gets disgruntled here and he decides to leave and we give up assets? We're pretty much stuck in a situation like we were with DeJounte Murray. Let's be honest. Right now, we're still trying to recover from that. So are you willing to risk now? You might as well just leave it how it is now and just grab two number ones. Like, I'm going to be 100. For me, I'm not drafting him at 13, but I'll take him at 22. I say go get the kid Broom out of Auburn. 6'11". He can play down in the paint, 240 pounds, and definitely has a mid-range, and he can also play around the rim. Averaged 19 points a game, had 10 rebounds and 3.5 blocks a game, 3.5, 4 blocks a game, and showed up in the Final Four.
Yeah,
big time. So when you look at a guy, and he's 22 years old, so he's not old. So you can get him to come in here. You already got a Kongwu who's starting to kind of grow into a role, but the difference is this kid can actually bang the boards. I feel like we need to get a big man right now. We need to get a true post player, because let's be real.
We don't have one.
I hate to say it, but Double O is a wing player. He ain't trying to play down in the paint. Broom, on the other hand, loves being down in the paint. He likes the physical stuff. And we have players that can play out on the wing and players that can play beyond the perimeter. We're soft in the middle. Soft. That's the easiest way to describe it. We're soft in the middle.
That sounds like an old 50 Cent lyric.
and that's just me. And I would even look at, if you're gonna bring Giannis in here, you sweeten up the deal. Here's my thing: you get Broom at 22 because you can, and you could take that. You could actually even dangle that first round pick because you got two. You could dangle that to the Milwaukee Bucks. Say, if y'all are doing a rebuild, we'll give you this. Hell, we'll give you Kobe Buffkin to go along with it. You know what I'm saying? I'm not even saying just give him that. You can actually even sweeten the deal. I don't want to lose Jalen Johnson. Just real talk. I really don't.
Yeah.
Because his upside, he's still learning and he's still climbing.
Yeah.
You don't want to give up guys that are young and talented. You start them off, and then it's kind of like playing a slot machine at Vegas. You play it, and then you get up from it. Somebody sits there and pulls it that one time, and they get rich off of it. They get hot.
Yeah,
you don't see
that. That's the crazy thing.
That's what I'm saying. You don't want to give up these young guys that you brought in that actually can be pillars of this here. Because let's be real, how much longer does Trey have in the league?
Mm-hmm.
He's been here for a minute. So when he leaves or he decides to, you know what, I don't want to be here in Atlanta no more, you gotta have some pieces that are still gonna be here.
That part.
And I'm not saying trade him, but what if he gets tired and say, hey, I want to leave Atlanta? I've given you everything I had. I want to try to get me a ring before I retire. You still have these young guys you still have here, and you can still build around these guys.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I'm seeing it. Start building with these young guys. Build with Ricochet. Build with Jalen Johnson. Bring in a Broom. And I keep throwing it out there because I want him here. Love his game. So if you have those three, you can get guards. You can find guards a dime a dozen.
I mean, there's plenty of guards coming out in this draft. I mean, we're already linked to something.
Every year it's a guard that you can find. Whether you go into the French league, whether you go look at Australia. And I mean, I don't need his thing. And we got Dyson Daniels that literally turned his game around since he's been in Atlanta. Been one of the best. Been the Great Barrier Reef. I'm sorry, the Great Barrier Thief.
I'm about to say thief. Yeah. There we go. Yeah, man. I mean, and I feel you guys, man. Again, that's why I just wanted to bring it to an actual panel. Because, talking about it myself and giving, like the pros and cons on both sides of it, that's one thing. But, so definitely wanted to get you guys' thoughts, all collectively, all being Hawks fans or Hawks content creators. Because, yes, that is a topic of discussion. Like, You got to think about the future, regardless, because Trey's not going to be here forever, regardless whether I said it's retirement or he moves on. And we got to think about it. Giannis is 30. That's tough, giving up a kid who just turned 20, and also with 20 with upside, and a kid who's not Jalen's 23, about to be 24, and it's just they're still growing, and we are building a foundation. It's like we're making moves behind the scenes. We have made moves behind the scenes to even get into the position that we are right now. And if you go and get Giannis, it's like you have to make enough moves. First of all, you got to go into the luxury tax because you got to have a team. So, I mean, that's another thing. Then about the future assets, how many of those are you going to have to give up? Because you got to have something to be able to start with and build with. Again, we are recouping from DeJounte Murray. Honestly, if that trade never happened, we're having a totally different conversation right now about Giannis, other pieces, etc. As for Double O, there's nothing he can do about his height, but I ain't going to lie to you. The Hawks got better defensively with him in there. I feel like they was able to still stretch the floor because Clint Capella can't shoot the three. At least Double O was able to knock down some threes. In one game, he even had about 4 or 5 threes. So he is improving in that regard. And, saying we need to get him some help down there. I'm not saying get rid of him. I'm saying just get him some help, get some depth, down there. I mean, we can get Broom. I know you got the kid Danny Wolf. You also got the Frenchman, Joan Behringer. So it's a few guys out here. The thing about it is it's like 5 or 6, 7 footers we can just name off the top of the head, just like that. I'm talking about 7 feet with their shoes off. So we'll see, man. I think we need to add some big man. Let me ask y'all this before we get ready to get up out of here. If the Hawks, hypothetically, how the draft falls, if those jokers was to take 2 big men this draft, are you upset?
No.
It depends, because if you take a center, that helps us out because you want to get a guy that's going to bang down low and do the dirty work, but also get the garbage points, because guess what? Garbage points add up.
Of course. Putbacks, you love putbacks. We love putbacks. Get it, put it right back in. Those are 2 points all day long. We'll do that 100 times down the floor if I have to.
I'm okay with getting, you know what I'm saying, a big man, or you get a big man and you get your another guard. That's a taller guard.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That's what I would do.
We've been without a big man for a long time. I think when we first got Capella, I think we should have been looking for a big man ever since then. Capella was one of these guys. He's a big man that likes to run the floor. Somebody that like hit the boards with him. We lost a lot of rebounds offensively. I mean, a lot. If we had to compare the difference, but to get somebody to help Capella when he goes out of the game, you wonder like, hey, where the rebounds are coming from now? And like Ryan said, the future. You bring in a bunch of young guys, not young guys, big guys. Like we've been missing it since even before Capella. Where are you going to lose your leverage?
This is Mutombo.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even not even somebody that big, even like a 6'10", 6'11" guy that can pound. You got to get somebody that can wear down that front court. And we haven't had that in years since Mutombo. Yeah, since Mutombo. And even when he went out and sat down, we didn't have nobody to come in and do it like he did it anyway. Nobody that was a fourth shot blocker anyway. We like now these guys like to catch you on the flash, blocking shots. But there was nobody. If this game ever made the switch, I mean, if the game ever slows down to where somebody wanted to pound the middle, we would get abused because nobody's heavy enough, nobody's big enough. So I mean, you like Ryan said, you gotta go get a big guy. And he likes to run the floor.
And he 240. He ain't small.
Yeah. And he is
like a defense. He is like a defensive end playing basketball. The difference is he's skilled. You know what I mean? And I like Moji, but you got to get Moji. You got to get Richard. Y'all got to listen. It's pathetic that we got all these soul food restaurants around the city, and these boys thin as a damn McDonald's straw. I'm just saying they thin as a
walk
McDonald's
around
straw.
eating all that, man. That's what got Zion messed up. Man.
Listen, Zion came in here with a darn belly and a dump truck that's in the really. I'm just being honest. He came in with a wheelbarrow belly. That's what he came in with. He had to lose weight. But I'm just saying, these dudes came in literally looking like straws. You got to get these boys in the weight room because people don't realize that. I look at it like this. It's not just drafting players. It's not just Quinn Snyder. You got to also look at what we're doing with the physical fitness of these guys. The diets that we had these guys on. This is the other part of the game that nobody talks about. We have to start looking at everything. We wouldn't have as many injuries if we had better strength and conditioning programs and also coaches.
Yeah.
Just saying. I know that might not interest everybody.
I feel like we got better on the injuries this year. I know Jalen, but look at Okongwu. Okongwu had a great bill of health this year for what it's worth. Somebody that was in and out the lineup beforehand. He did stick around. I know Kobe Buffkin was gone. But you think about it, guys that that went out of the lineup, and at least they came back, within the season. Now some guys got re-injured. I understand that stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I feel like they did. I feel like this year they did do better than I've seen the past couple of seasons. I know we brought in some new people too, but I feel like this season was trended up compared to like last few seasons.
Yeah. I was watching a segment on the guy who LeBron fired, the fitness guy that he fired. Forgot who he was, but I was watching him do an interview, and it's like Ryan said, we got to do better with the strengthening and conditioning, because that's why it's called strengthening and conditioning. Because you can condition a guy all you want to, but if he's not physically fit to go down there and bang and run the floor, you're gonna have the accidents. Not the accidents. You're gonna have the injuries, the twisted ankles, torn ACL. But it's things that you can do to slow that stuff down. See, and that's why I was so against LeBron losing all that weight like he did as fast as he did. And I'm not against that. I took my son when he was playing football. I took his health in consideration too, because he picked on a bunch of he put up a bunch of weight, and a lot of people were like, "Hey, why did you slim him down like that?" I was more concerned with his health as opposed to his size. Yeah, he could have went on and made a lot of money doing what he's doing, but it would have did him no good if he couldn't, last at what he was doing. But I'm an old school guy. I always like the strength part of it. I want my player strong. You know what I mean? He can fight off those injuries. He can fight off the constant pressure coming with the banging. And the guy who LeBron fired, he said the thing that's wrong, and that's why LeBron fired him. He said the thing that's wrong with a lot of the strength and conditioning going on today is a lot of these people like this calisthenics type stuff. These bands, these rubber bands. He said these players needs to be on weights, full on free weights, not just rubber bands pulling. You can get a child to do that, but you have to put on to develop strength. You got to mess with those free weights. You have. But
Cowboy, everybody didn't have access to weights back in your day like that either. Let's be real. No, I'm not being funny. I'm actually being for real. This is why you have a lot of injuries. And I'm gonna throw this out here, and I'm gonna split because I got to get up early.
Yeah, I'm looking at eyes right now.
Just think about it. When you look at the parks now, you don't see kids playing at the park anymore. Right. You see all these kids playing AAU. You don't see them playing neighborhood ball. This is what people don't understand. I know it sounds old school. Pick up football, pick up basketball in the neighborhoods back in the day. Guess what? Guys were still playing, even after their seasons was done, even during their seasons.
During the season,
guys could have gotten hurt. But think about it. The way that you condition your body is to actually play. And I'm not talking about just in well manicured. You need to play in all elements. It's something about playing on that concrete that makes these guys different. Because think about it. You didn't see guys getting hurt like that coming up through the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s,
Right.
even the early 2000s.
Mhm.
You started seeing this when these kids got soft.
Yeah.
Same with football. It's
Yeah.
the same thing. Guys ain't playing tackle no more. They're playing flag football. Oh, this is skill. Listen, if you want your body, listen, weights are nice. It's cool. You can lift all the weight in the world you want. But if you are not conditioned to play, that means you're playing outside of what they're telling you. Only reason why these guys don't do it is because of the contracts and the money.
Yeah.
Because
too much money, they can't.
Yeah.
Just think about it. Dominique Wilkins used to ride around in the city. I'm old enough to remember.
Exactly.
Before I moved to Jacksonville, when I was a kid, Neek would ride around the city and just him, Tree Rollins, Kevin Willis, they just pull up to the park and they just start playing with guys from around the neighborhood. Like they would just pull up. Jordan used to do it in Chicago all the time. This is before they got the cheap
like
league,
dunk
man.
contests and all the stuff that they were doing out there.
Yeah.
Come on, man. Think about it. Guys can't even play in the Rucker anymore because of these contracts that the NBA put out and these clauses. So when you look at it, how can you become better at your craft? How can you become better conditioned or whatnot if you're just playing in manicure situations?
Yeah.
Thank y'all for letting me come on, man. I'm with you on that, Cowboy. I'm 38, but I got an old soul, my brother.
Hey,
so
one of the greatest guys I have ever played against, and he was probably one of the greatest guards that ever played here in Atlanta. He didn't care about no contract or what they told him what he could do, couldn't do. He used to roll up in East Lake Meadows, man, and Walker Park. Eddie Johnson. You couldn't keep him. You could not. And just before he got on the drugs and the alcohol and that stuff, you could not keep him out of Mosley Park. You could not keep him out of East Lake. He would play where he wanted to play all the time, and it showed on the court. When game time came around, you have to call him, hey man, get out of the game, because he would not get tired. He would run literally the whole game. I couldn't say whether or not it was the dope that had him running, but at the same time, he was conditioned to run. And you didn't even now. And I tell an old story too. Tell it to my sons all the time. I went to a high school. We had the tallest front court in all of basketball. I'm not gonna say the high school. Well, I will say the high school. North Forza High School up in Buckhead. We had the tallest front court. 6'10", 6'11", no, 2 6'11" and a 6'10". I'm not gonna say anything else more about that because I got some friends on here that'll probably call me out. But the way that I grew up and as opposed to the way that they grew up, it was totally different. Their mindset was different. If their mindset was like the mindset of the guys that we grew up playing with. And I tell you one guy that did not come out of those neighborhoods, but he played with us all the time. Martise Moore, rest in peace. He played in our neighborhood all the time. He played over at Georgia Tech. And his game was far different from the guys that we had in our front court. Martise Moore would jump out of the gym. He had that type of skill. He went on to play at Georgia Tech, went on to play at Colorado. And I think he ended up stopped playing at Colorado. But he's one of the guys, he was so conditioned because he played all year round on that concrete against us. And he could body, he was 6'5", maybe 210, 215, but he could body like nobody's business. But it was that, like you said, it was what was leading up to that point. He was that guy. You put it up anywhere near the rim, it's going down. Anywhere near it. I'll tell a story about Washington High School with that, him playing against Washington High School. That'll take all day. That's another story. But I would like to see these guys, like you said, put on more weight.
Yep.
These guys. I was saying that about Richardson when they was looking for him. When they was looking at him prior to the draft, I was like, he's just too thin. I see the skill.
Yep.
I see the skill. I wasn't concerned about his skill and what he could do to at the next level. I'm like looking at him like he's just too thin. I'm just an old school guy. I just like big guys that can body. I played in a body position, so I'm kind of partial on that. But I like for the Hawks, like you said, put some weight on this guy. So at least up to about 215, 220.
I say get him up there at least 205. I think for him being a guard, it doesn't take away from his quickness.
Yeah.
And I think, or I'm not even gonna say 205. Get him to an even 200. I think that because of his height and his size, he still would be explosive and it wouldn't be bad on his joints. See, people don't understand you can't carry too much weight because again, with what he does, being able to run, cut, and do everything, that takes a toll on your body. So,
right. Yeah.
But I'm with you on that.
I played a heavyweight, and I was one of the ones I could run all day, but by the end of the day, my knees gonna say, "Hey man, you know you don't need to be doing that. You need to drop some weight." Yeah. So I'm with you on that one. I'm with you on that.
Well, shoot, man. I know we about to get ready to slide on up out of here. It's almost 11 o'clock. And I know I got to make sure I hit the clock. Hey, man. But, yeah, man. Great show, though, guys. Great conversations, especially, in the early beginning, talk about these Falcons. And then, of course, saying your thoughts about, Giannis Antetokounmpo being linked to the Atlanta Hawks. Please, by all means, guys, so let the people know where they can find you before we close on
Yes, sir. Y'all can follow me, Bryce_2K, across all social, YouTube, host of Believe in Hawks, BLEAV. Have part 2 of my conversation with Glenn Willis coming out tomorrow. In the works to try to get some other guys on for some Falcons content as well. So we're doing a lot over there. And hopefully maybe also get some articles up in the next couple of weeks too. So prayers, obviously, always appreciate you bringing me on. Cowboy, first time. I think we've been on the first time we've been on the show together. So always great meeting with another person within the community for show, man, making connections and everything.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Cowboy.
Hey man, appreciate you most all. I've been trying to get with you for so long. But man, I appreciate you having me on, man. And Bryce, we actually did another show with it was with Chris, and I want to say it was what's the guy down in Miami? What's his name?
Mark.
Mark, yeah, we was on together with him. So, but guys, like I said, appreciate y'all having me on. I can be found on YouTube. I can also be found on Come On In Sports Network. I'm on with those guys. Also, I'm on now with former Falcon Harper LaBelle on his podcast at 100 Yards of Football Sports Network. Did that sound it? Yeah, 100 Yards of Sports, 100 Yards of Football Sports Network. Like I said, that's being done by Harper LaBelle, former long snapper for the Falcons. Come On In Sports Network. It's a great group of guys, man. Everybody has a different background from that group, which is what I absolutely love. The only downfall to that group is it's 2 Saints fans on that thing that pretty much run that thing. But it's all about getting the sports out there, guys. It's not just Falcon football content. But like I said, it's a great group of guys. Chris, I'm looking forward to work with you some more. I've got a whole bunch of time now, so look out for me. Okay. We need to get in a segment or two. But guys, like I said, I appreciate y'all having me on. It's been fun. And look for me more in the future, guys. It's coming.
All right, now. Yes, sir. We appreciate you coming on, and Bryce, appreciate you coming on. Appreciate T. Will earlier. I know he had to bounce out, but appreciate him coming on. Of course, appreciate Ryan, the historian. This has been a fun show. So didn't expect it to go like this, but I'm glad it did. It was fun talking Falcons and Hawks, and just some chopping up with you fellas, man. Of course, like for myself, A1 Forever Sports, that's the platform on YouTube. Please come over, like, comment, and subscribe. It's 11 o'clock at night, so I really hope you guys have found your peace today. As positive energy always creates elevation. And also, man, catch me on the Hawks Digest as well. Just dropped a video over there talking about the Giannis topic and diving into a few more points about it. And, hey, check it out. So let me know what you guys think about that. Twitter, A1 Forever. Instagram, A1 Forever. The real A1 Forever on TikTok. Hey, man, this has been a great show, and always enjoy working with these guys. But for myself, for Bryce, shoot, man, it was a bunch of guys on here tonight. But we out.
A1. Yeah, truly. Cooler and I'm flyer too. Jam. Cooler and